Welcome to the fourth and final session of this month's series on character and leadership. This is TK Coleman. I'm excited to be in this last session with you. As you're trickling in, here's the question on the table. I want you to tell me one thing from 2020 that you're thankful for. I know a lot of crazy stuff has happened this year. I know it's been a very dramatic, turbulent 2020. But I want you to tell me one thing that you're thankful for from this year, and I want to hear from you in the chat as you're trickling in. For those who are just now hearing me, this is TK Coleman. This is the fourth and final session of our character and leadership series for the month. And the question on the table is, what's one thing from 2020 that you're genuinely thankful for? And you can share with me in the chat. Jada, I'm alive. Very valuable thing to be thankful for, Jada. 2020 has seen many wonderful people transition. And there is a verse in the book of Ecclesiastes in the Bible that says that it is better for a person to attend a funeral than a party. On the surface, that sounds very dramatic and very dark. But the rest of that verse says, because in doing so, they contemplate their end. And it's healthy to remind ourselves that life is not to be taken for granted. We only have a finite number of days out there in front of us, and we have to make every moment count. And that begins with some sincere gratitude for the fact that we are here one more day to participate in the gift of life. That's a good reminder, too, to cherish the people around us, to not wait to tell them how appreciative we are for the things they've done for us. Princess Barge, I am thankful for life. Yes. Chloe, a brother to spend time with during quarantine. Oh, that's a blessing that you have somebody that it's good to be stuck with. You know, a lot of people drive each other mad during this time. That's good. All right, here, Eric. I have a roof over my head. For those who are just tuning in, the question that we're discussing right now is, what's one thing you are thankful for from 2020? My relationship with my dad. That is awesome. That is awesome. I love that. Make sure you tell your dad that if you haven't already told him. Thank you, Farida. Cecilia, I'm thankful for my counselors, advisors, and teachers for being so understanding and supporting through the college application process. They helped me so much, and it's been stressful. Yeah, I imagine it is. All those things you're doing sound like very valuable, good things, and all the good things are. All the good things are challenging, and that's what makes them worth doing. So that's awesome that you've got people in your life who've been supporting you. In a multitude of counselors, there is safety. Dylan, I am thankful for all the people who are helping me accomplish my goals. Very excellent. Francesca, I'm thankful that my twin cousins were born and that they came out of NICU a week ago after being there for months. Oh, hooray. That's awesome. That's awesome. Blessings, blessings. That's really awesome. New life. New life is a wonderful gift worth celebrating. Let's see here. Free time to make my head an enjoyable space to be in. Certainly want to invest in that, right? Because no matter where you go, as the saying goes, I believe it was Ram Dass, you're going to be you. You'll be there no matter where you are. And making sure that your head is an enjoyable space to live in is good. I'm curious as to what are some things you're looking forward to do. All right, from Caleb. Thankful for the people in my life. Awesome. Not gonna lie, I'm kind of thankful for online school. It gives me a lot of flexibility. That's awesome. That's awesome. It's good when you can appreciate things that are really challenging and that are capable of throwing us off in so many ways. All right. Also, we have a message from Grace here. Welcome attendees. Thanks for being here with NSHSS and Fee on a holiday eve. Do us a quick favor and please take this quick survey before we get started. You can see that here. It's the one with the TA forms, and just take 1 to 2 minutes as we're getting started to go ahead and fill that out. Thank you everyone for sharing what you are grateful for. My relationship with my dad, my teachers who have adapted so well to online learning. This is awesome. So one of the themes that we have discussed all throughout the month is how you get better at the things you practice. If you practice complaining, you get better at noticing things to complain about. You practice gratitude, you get better at noticing things to be thankful about. And the important thing about gratitude is to not treat it like it's purely a moral thing. Like, oh, you do it because that's what makes you a good person. Treat it also like a self-interested thing. You do it because it actually expands your ability to derive enjoyment from life. I heard this analogy used before. Imagine an ocean, all right? The ocean is vast and immeasurable. If you take, let's say, a thimble to the ocean, then you can scoop up a thimble full of water. If you take a cup to the ocean, you can scoop up a cup full of water. If you take a bucket to the ocean, you can scoop up a bucket full of water. In all three instances, the amount of water was the same, vast and immeasurable. But how much you were able to get out of the ocean depended on how much capacity to receive you were bringing to the ocean. Gratitude, approaching life with a sense of gratitude, is like bringing the bucket to the ocean of life, right? The more gratitude you bring to your experience, the more you'll get out of your experience, and you'll actually find your levels of meaningfulness, your levels of fulfillment, your levels of inspiration and enthusiasm gradually increasing. One of the questions that I've gotten here is how do I stay inspired? How do I motivate myself to do things? Developing gratitude as a daily practice is such a good way to do it. One of my favorites is to just make a list 1 through 5 and give yourself the challenge every day of just filling it out, and keep it short so that it doesn't become overwhelming to do. Make it just like 1 sentence at the most, 1 word preferably, something that you're grateful for, and try to never repeat. Try to never repeat on your anything on your list. Every day, challenge yourself to come up with 5 things, and let nothing be too mundane. So if you run out of ideas, like, what are you taking for granted? I'm grateful that the sun rose today. I'm grateful that my heart is beating in a way that is healthy and pumping blood through my system and allowing me to be alive and have vitality. I'm thankful for the way that my mom encouraged me today. I'm thankful that I had the opportunity to help a friend with their homework today. When you develop a literacy of gratitude, you become really good at this, and you become more intelligent too, because there's so much background information that we just take for granted. And when you make that explicit through a gratitude practice, you become more intelligent, you become more cognizant, you become more mindful, and you become more inspired. And the people in your life will appreciate you for the energy that you bring to them. All right. Does my dad need to sign the AZV release? He is not home yet. Grace, I'm going to have you answer that because I'm not sure what that question is referring to. So I'll let Grace answer that. Okay, so because every time, no matter how much time I've given to questions, and it's usually been about 10 to 15 minutes, we've run out. So today, before the holiday, as an expression of my gratitude to you, I'm going to make the bulk of this time Q&A. So get your questions ready, because I want to be able to go through as many of them as possible. But before I do that, I just want to give a few minutes of talk about character to kind of wrap up a lot of the themes that we've talked about earlier in the week. So there is a verse in the Bible that I want to quote, the book of Proverbs, chapter 22, verses 1. And it says, "A good name is more desirable than great riches. To be esteemed is better than silver or gold." We all have a reputation, whether we want to have one or not, whether we like it or not, whether we are focused on that or not, we all have a reputation. And a reputation is the way that you show up in the world. It's the first thing that comes to people's mind when they hear your name, when they see your face, when you walk into a room. And your reputation is one of your greatest assets in life, because your reputation, that's your legacy. That's what you leave behind. And people are going to remember that far more than how much money you made or what title you have. As the saying goes, people don't really remember what you said to them, but they remember how you made them feel when they interacted with you, when you were in their presence. And so one of my final words to you is, especially as you are young, especially as you are growing and you're thinking about college and you're getting ready to take these next major steps in your life, in your career, is to cherish your reputation. And when I say cherish your reputation, I don't mean be preoccupied with what other people think of you, but contemplate and take seriously what you're willing to stand for and believe in, even when it's not popular. There is, one of the things I pointed out last time about the social media age is that it tends to make us think about impact and influence in terms of how many people that we're having an effect on. So if you were to write a post or make a video and say something inspirational and you had 10 people like it, most people would probably be really depressed about that. Oh man, I only had 10 people like it. And that person over there has thousands or millions. The comparison trap. It makes us downplay the power of one. But 10 people, that's a lot. That's a lot of people to have an impact on. And thinking in terms of legacy is learning to cherish and be thankful for every person that you've been able to positively impact. You may have heard this before, but I remember hearing someone say the story of a boy who was, standing by the shore, and as the waves washed the shore, there were fish that were kind of stuck on the dry land, and one by one he would pick them up and he would toss them into the ocean. And there were so many of them. Someone came along and said, hey, you're never going to be able to get all those fish, and you're not really making a difference. And he picked up a fish and he threw one more into the ocean. And he said it made a difference to that one. And the moral of that story is that impact matters at the level of just one person. And you never want to downplay the positive influence that you're having on those around you just because it's not a million or just because you're not a celebrity. When I was in high school, my drama teacher used to say to us before we would do a play, she would always say, all right, every crowd is going to be different. Sometimes we have a sold out crowd. Sometimes we have, half full, auditorium. Sometimes people laugh at all the jokes. Sometimes the crowd is really quiet. You don't know what they're thinking. Sometimes we get standing ovations at the end of the show. Sometimes we don't. Every crowd is different. You never know how they're going to respond. But here's what matters. All that matters is that you make a difference for one person, that you just touch one person with your performance tonight. And if you do that, you've succeeded. That's all that really matters. And so my final words to you is to strive to make a difference in the life of one person. Don't worry about quantity. Focus on living a life of quality, and never underestimate the power of touching one person deeply. Remember that first talk. Go back and watch the video if you didn't see the first talk. I talked about Joseph and how he had these big, ambitious dreams, but he had a really difficult life. And how was his dream fulfilled? It wasn't fulfilled because he had an Instagram account with 1 million followers. It wasn't fulfilled because he went viral. It wasn't fulfilled because he was popular. In fact, he was unpopular. His brothers hated him and they sold him out. It was because one person. There was one person who had a dream that troubled them very deeply, and Joseph helped that person make sense out of their dreams. And it was that one person that he changed that resulted in the fulfillment of his dreams. Never equate being popular and being loved by everybody with being a person of character and making an impact. You don't need to be popular. You don't need to be famous in order to have a legacy. You need to be a leader. And to be a leader is to be a person of integrity in everything that you do. When the camera's off, when the lights are off, when you're not getting a grade for your behavior, when there's no one that can threaten you and say you're going to get in trouble, how do you show up for yourself and for the people around you then? That's what it's all about. That's how you build a legacy. All right, let's do it. Let's do the questions. This is your time. I want to make this session for you. You've heard me show up 3 weeks straight and talk the whole time, and we've run out of time for questions. So let's dive in and let's make this happen. This is about to be the Q&A mega session. So let's get them in the chat, and I'll start going through. Comment from Jada here. Kindness does do a lot. I had a friend briefly in my sophomore year, and her kindness still inspires me to be as kind and positive as her. And you know, the thing about that too is you never know who's watching. You never know. There's a difference between watching and leaving a comment. Most people don't leave comments. They just watch and they leave. Most people don't say, hey, I want to let you know. This is especially true of positive things. You know, for instance, I've worked in several restaurants, and when a customer is unhappy, there's probably like a 95% complaint rate. Like if a customer is really unhappy, they're gonna ask to talk to a manager. You're gonna know about it. But if someone's happy, they probably won't say anything. So the chances are that you will not know the overwhelming majority of people that you've had a positive impact on, because if you did the job right, most people probably won't say anything. So never take for granted all the people that are silently, not necessarily spying on you, but the people that just notice you. They notice how you show up. They notice how you treat others, and they're taking cues from you, and their worldview is being shaped by it. I have been blogging and podcasting and stuff like that for at least like 6 years now, and I'm constantly, I write every day, and I'm constantly posting things on Twitter, Instagram, on WordPress, and writing articles and making podcast videos and stuff. And I had a friend from high school, maybe about 6 months ago, send me a private message and said, hey, I just want to thank you for everything that you're doing. You know, I went through a lot of hard times, and the things that you put out there really inspired me and made a difference in my life. And I was completely shocked, because this was a person that I remember. I went to high school with them. We weren't even close. I didn't even know that they noticed me, that I really existed in their lives. They never commented on any of my materials I've been putting out for years, but apparently they were watching and they were impacted. So you never know. You never know who's watching. Great comment, Jada. All right, we got questions in the Q&A window. Let me go in here. Dylan, how can I encourage my friends to participate in my community service club without causing them to feel as though they are doing it for me? How can I encourage my friends to participate in my community service club without causing them to feel as though they are doing it for me? All right, Dylan, this is something that applies to any form of persuasion. As a natural part of life, there are things that we will want others to do. And my answer to you is going to apply to whatever that is. Whether you're talking to a customer and you want them to buy a product, or you are a member of a church and you want to get your friends to come visit your church because you think it'll be a great experience for them. You formed a book club and you think it'll benefit people and you want them to come to your book club. Whatever it is, we all have things that we want to influence other people to do for a variety of different reasons. And my answer applies to all of them. So this isn't just an insight for Dylan, it's for all of you. The first thing, whenever you are trying to persuade someone to do anything, if you want them to feel like it's for them, then you need to tell them what's in it for them. Don't present it as, oh, it would really make me happy if you do this, because what you're doing then is you're asking for a favor, and it is for you. If you say, oh, it'll really make me happy if you do this, or it'll really mean a lot to me if you do this, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're asking for a favor, then you want to be transparent about that. That's what you're requesting. But if it's truly for them, then what's the benefit for them? And it's important to think about this before you even talk to them. That way you won't, get like mixed up. You won't get tripped up as you're trying to explain. But maybe make a short list, like what are the benefits for them? And share with them the benefits. And the more personal you can make it, the more persuasive it would be. So if I say hypothetically, hey, Todd, I know the other day you were talking to me about how you struggle a lot with math and you would love to just be connected with some other people who can maybe help you out. Or, hey, Jeff, I know that you mentioned that you always have a lot of business ideas, but you never feel like you have creative people to collaborate with. Well, check it out, man. I'm starting up this community group, and it's a bunch of people just like you with a lot of creative ideas. And the whole point of the group will be for us to come together and figure out different ways that we can support each other, la-di-da, la-di-dee. I think you really love it. Tell people what's in it for them, because that's what people are interested in the most. They may not be interested in your club, but they're always interested in their own needs and desires. So talk about your club in light of their needs and desires. Tell them why you think it would be great for them, and then invite it. The second thing, you always have more persuasive power when you respect people's freedom to be disinterested. This feels a little paradoxical because we often feel like the more we pressure people, the more intense we push them to do something, the more likely it is that they'll do it. But that actually drives people away. When people feel like you won't be okay if they say no, then that tends to make it about you again. And it tends to put them in a position where they feel like they're driven by fear of making you mad, or guilt of your kind of, guilt because you're going to condemn them or something along those lines. So be cool when you're presenting it to them. When I say be cool, I mean present it as something that you think will provide value for them, and just put it out there like, hey, if you're interested in more information, go to this website. If you're interested in more information, shoot me a text. If you're interested in more information, let me know. We meet at Wednesdays at 3 o'clock on Zoom. Feel free to stop by, man. If you want me to add you to the list, let me know. And if they're interested, they'll let you know. If they're not interested, you can give like a courtesy reminder, maybe like a week later, like, hey man, I know I mentioned last time, the whole community group we have going on, no pressure, but if you're interested in it, just let me know, because we are meeting every week and I thought about you the other week, and then leave it alone. If people aren't interested, don't try any manipulation tactics to make them be interested. Accepting the fact that some people just may not be interested in something is a natural part of life. And great leaders are people that are capable of being respectful and being kind towards others, even when they aren't interested in what that leader is interested in. But those would be my tips on how to motivate them. By the way, anything that you can kind of create that you can show people would be even be better. I don't know what kind of community group this is, but like if you can have something like people are inspired by something they can see, so if you have something that you can, like a website you can send to them, or a video that you can record and explain things, sometimes that can actually be a persuasive element that makes people more excited about it. All right, let's see here. Jack, without being too specific on my part, how should you approach a problem that you feel you have failed at many times over and are uncertain on how to proceed? All right. Whenever we feel like this about a problem, that doesn't mean the problem is unsolvable. Every problem can be seen from multiple different vantage points, and chances are every problem that you will ever face has been wrestled with by someone in history. Chances are several people in your generation alone, but chances are thousands of people over time, people who have put out books and podcasts and other insights. Even if the problem has not already been solved by thousands of people, there are thousands of insights that can help you learn how to cope with these problems. So what am I saying? Whenever you get to a point where you feel like, man, I've tried everything and this problem is just still like beating me up and I can't get around it, all that means is that you have reached the limits of your thinking. That means you have reached a place in your thinking where you have exhausted all of your knowledge. The good news is that there's way more information out there than what you've been taught, what you've been exposed to, and what you know. There's still way more to learn, so much to learn that if you live another 1,000 years, there'll still be an infinite amount of stuff to learn. That's great. You should feel inspired by that fact, because what that means is there are a whole lot of solutions, strategies, methodologies, perspectives, and approaches, and all you got to do is put yourself in a position to go after those things that can help you with your problem. Now, makes perfect sense that you don't want to get too specific here. That's very wise. You want to be judicious. You want to be discerning about who you share your problems with, and make sure that you share those things with people that you can trust. What I would highly encourage you to do is to go outside of your own thinking on this one. One of the things that I mentioned earlier is there is safety in a multitude of counselors, right? That's one of the Proverbs. Get other perspectives. I would encourage you to talk to your parents. If you feel uncomfortable there, do you have any uncles or aunts that you can talk to? Do you have any mentors from church or school, a trusted teacher, a trusted coach, a trusted pastor, a deacon or elder that you can talk to? And I understand that sometimes it can be, and I'm not assuming what it is, but it could be something like, man, I just really hate my dad. And obviously talking to your dad about that might be very difficult in a direct way. But, I literally had that problem at one point in my life, but I had other men in my life that were like father figures and mentors who were able to help me develop a perspective that would make it a lot easier for me to go talk about whatever problem I had with my dad. So get outside of your own head and leverage the relationships that you have in your life. Find at least 3 people that you can talk to about it and just tell them, say, hey, look, I love to pick your brains on something. This problem has been really tripping me up. And be honest about how hard it is to talk about. That can actually signal to them to be gracious with you if they can know how difficult it is. Say, this is really hard for me to talk about, but I've been struggling with it, and I've come to my wits' end. And I don't expect you to necessarily give me all the answers, but if you could just give me some perspective, if you could just give me some insight, I'd appreciate it. And I'm sure you can find 3 people in your life that can help you do that. If that feels like it's incredibly hard, send me a message and I'll give you some tips. I'll give you some tips on how you can go about finding people that can help you get some insight. What is your advice on building self-discipline and control? Okay. Your advice on building self-discipline and control. All right. The key to discipline, the first key, I'm going to give you 2. The first key to discipline is purpose. Doing the same thing over and over again and being consistent isn't intrinsically good. You can show up and you can bang your head against the wall all day long, and then when it gets painful, your head starts to hurt, you can say, I gotta be disciplined. I'm gonna keep banging my head against the wall. I gotta be disciplined. And that's not discipline. That's self-harm. That's self-defeat. That wouldn't be wise at all, right? And why is it? Because even though you're being persistent, even though you keep doing something in spite of how uncomfortable it is, there's no point to doing that. That's a pointless activity. You can't find the motivation to be disciplined if you're doing something that you genuinely believe or feel to be pointless. It is purpose that gives rise to discipline. There was a coach who was trying to motivate someone that he was the mentor of someone. He was trying to motivate this guy to stop smoking, and he just couldn't motivate him to do it. And one day the coach just said, hey, look, you told me you want to be a great runner, right? You want to be a great athlete. I'm telling you right now, if you want to get the competitive edge, you're never going to be as good as those guys that you aspire to be like. You may be better than the people at your school. You can get away with your talent there. But unless you let that habit go, you're never going to get here. And I'm just being honest with you. And that guy stopped. He actually changed things. And the reason why is because he had a why. He had a purpose. You got to have a why in order to experience the power to stick with a how. So if there's something that you want to change in your life, step back for a second. And instead of just thrusting yourself into what you think you need to do, get clear with yourself. Why are you doing this? Are you doing this because someone else told you to? Okay, even if you have to do it, you still need a better reason than that, because all of you're about 2 to 3 years away from nobody being able to tell you what to do anymore. So that's not going to work very long. If your primary motivation is like some adult is making me do something, maximum 5 years, that power is going to be taken away from them by Father Time. And now what's going to motivate you? You need a bigger why. So even if you are being made to do something, you need to find a reason beyond that applies to yourself. How is applying for this college helping me get what I want? How is doing my homework helping me get what I want? What's in it for me? Find your why. The second thing, I encourage you to watch. I'll pull it up. I have a video on YouTube. No, you go search it up. I have a video on YouTube. It's called Non-Zero Days. Go watch that video. And the basic idea is focus on building momentum, not transforming your life overnight. So the key to building habits is taking baby steps and starting really, really, really small. So if you have never worked out before, don't do something to yourself like say, I'm going to start tomorrow and run 5 miles a day. Don't do that to yourself. You're just setting yourself up for failure and discouragement. Start by saying, okay, every day this week, I'm just going to get outside and I'm going to jog for 2 blocks. TK, come on. 2 blocks is really easy. That's why I want you to start there. I want you to pick something that you know you can do on your worst day of the week, and you will have one of those days. You know, those days where everybody needs you at the same time, those days where everything goes wrong. What can you do on that day? Start there and commit to doing that every day, just something small. Because what happens is if you do that over the course of a month, you'll start to build momentum, and then it will become integrated in your lifestyle, and it will be the kind of thing that you don't have to make a conscious effort to do anymore. It's kind of like driving. I don't know how many of you have your license and you're driving. I assume many of you do. But when you first start in driver's ed, it's really stressful. You got to think about everything. Oh, come to a complete stop. Oh yeah, left turn signal now. Oh, yeah. You're all in your head, right? Because it's new and you're developing a new habit. But after a while, you're just cruising. You don't have to think about all those different things because it's integrated into your lifestyle. And once you get there, the momentum will carry you. So the key to building discipline, start with why, know what your purpose is, start really small, build momentum, and then the momentum will carry you, and you won't need discipline to keep doing it because it will be part of your lifestyle. There is what's called the 4 levels of competence. The first level is unconscious incompetence. You're not very good at something and you don't even know that you're not very good at it. That's kind of the lowest level. The next level is conscious incompetence. You're not very good at something, but at least you know you're not very good. Then the next level is conscious competence. You're good at it, but you have to try really hard to be good at it, and you got to think about it all the time because it's new. And then the next level is unconscious competence. You're good at it and you don't even think about it because it's like the back of your hand. When you start small, you can graduate from a state of conscious incompetence to unconscious competence. And that's how you get there. Can you expand on your book recommendations from last time? Oh my gosh. Okay. Gosh. Yeah. I mean, I could do this all day. Okay. I'll throw out some books. Let me see. Based on topics that I think would be good for you all. Okay. So there is a book called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. I forget the author's name. This has been many years since I read this. Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. Second book is How I Found Freedom in an Unfree World. And the author here is Harry Brown. How I Found Freedom in an Unfree World. Let me give at least a brief sales pitch for each of these. For Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, it's a great book on, that's it, Susan Jeffers, that's her. It's a great book on grappling with the fact that we never get to a place in life where fear is permanently absent and we never have to deal with the butterflies and the stomach effect. Even great people feel that. Even great achievers who've been doing what they do for years, they still feel sometimes anxiety or stress in relation to the task that they have to do. What they have mastered is not the art of making fear go away. What they have mastered is the art of finding a basis for acting through the fear, creating through the fear. And that's a very good book that gives you some practical tips on that. For How I Found Freedom in an Unfree World, I think it's an excellent book because this is a book that teaches you how to think and act in a way that always moves your life forward, regardless of the political conditions of our time. And I wish more people my age would read this book and learn to think in this way. Because something that, if you haven't already found out by this election cycle, you're definitely going to find out in the next 4 years, especially as you go to college. At least every 4 years, half the world thinks that we're in the middle of an apocalypse. Guaranteed. At least half the world thinks that this is Armageddon. And it's going to be, you're going to find yourself in political climates where maybe you're part of that half. You feel like you're living in the midst of Armageddon because of who got in office, or you're afraid of someone that's going to be in office. And there's always something to be afraid of, always. And when I say always something to be afraid of, I'm not like being cute and joking around. I mean legitimately. There's always like legit reasons to be freaked out. And this is a book that kind of teaches you how to ground yourself in a sense of meaningfulness and purposefulness that allows you to think and act constructively regardless of the times that we're in. I'll give you another. Third is Viktor Frankel's Man's Search for Meaning. It's a short book, but it's a book that captures something very important about what makes life worth living and about coping with difficult and hard times. Another, let's see. Oh, yeah. Okay, so okay, so Steve Chandler's Time Warrior. There are lots of books on productivity and life hacks and all that kind of stuff. A lot of them get repetitive. Once you read about like 15 of these types of books, you realize a lot of them are saying the same thing. There's a lot of cookie cutter advice on this kind of stuff. It's pretty rare to be able to find a book on stuff like time management and productivity that really gets to the meat of the issues and actually says stuff that's really interesting and life changing. And so I'm going to recommend two. One, I think I've given it away, but this is one. It's Time Warrior by Steve Chandler. Highly recommend this one. And then there's another one called Getting Things Done by David Allen. Getting Things Done by David Allen. I hope someone's taking good notes because I don't know if I'll be able to repeat what I'm saying. This one's good for college students. When I say no, I feel guilty. I believe it was Warren Buffett who said that the key to my success is I say no 90% of the time. There are things in life that you absolutely must say yes to. And there are a whole lot of other things in life that are distractions. But why do so many people get caught in the trap of saying yes and regretting it? Saying yes to things that they don't really want to do, don't really believe in, they know is bad for them, or they know they ought to be studying or doing something else. It's why, because we feel guilty about it. And other people are really good at making us feel guilty about it. Oh, you're lame. Oh, you're no fun. Oh, you're this and this. This is a great book that will help you get past those head games. Another book that I don't have anymore, Wayne Dyer, and it's called Pulling Your Own Strings. Pulling Your Own Strings. This is a very good book, and it's based on the premise that the way other people treat you is how you train them to treat you. Other people don't treat you based on what you want, nor do they treat you based on your complaints. You can complain, people will still treat you the same way. You can pout, I don't like that, people still treat you the same way. People don't treat you how you want them to treat you. They treat you how you train them to treat you. And you train them to treat you in a certain way by your reactions and your responses. It also helps you deal with the push your buttons effect. We all have people that know how to push our buttons, people that know how to trigger us, people that know how to troll us, people that know how to get in our heads and frustrate us. It's so important that you learn how to be the leader in your own life in terms of taking charge of your energy. Because if other people can control your energy, it makes you not only easy to manipulate, but it just makes for a very sad life. And it's a huge distraction to the things that you need to focus on. I mean, I wish I knew this kind of stuff when I was your age, because I can't tell you how many times where I had something to do, like study for my finals or focus on my job, and maybe someone would say something to me, something just completely nonsensical or whatever, and I'd spend the whole day thinking about it, spend the whole day being bothered by what somebody else said. Pulling Your Own Strings is a great book at helping you deal with that. For my person that wanted to know about discipline, this is my number one. This is my number one for that. Atomic Habits by James Clear. By the way, never let money separate you from knowledge. I can already hear somebody saying, I can already hear that voice, man, see, that's great, you're sharing all these books, but I don't have the money to go buy these books. No problem. Let me give you a life hack. Let me give you something that you can do to be able to glean from the very best of other people's thinking, even if you don't have money. Lack of money should be the last thing. that keeps you from getting knowledge. If Frederick Douglass can learn how to read, when he was a slave, you surely can learn how to read in the age of YouTube, okay? So I'm gonna tell you, I'll give you one example with this. So this is Atomic Habits by James Clear. You can go watch his episode on the Minimalist podcast, but he has at least like 10 interviews that you can go watch for free, where he talks for like an hour with other people answering questions about Atomic Habits. You can also go to his blog and you can read articles for free. And he's been blogging for like about a decade. I interviewed him on my podcast like 5 years ago. He's been blogging for like a decade. So there are more articles written by him on how to build constructive habits than you are capable of completing if you read him every day for like the next 3 years. All right. This is another book by Steven Pressfield. It's called The War of Art. The War of Art. And what Steven Pressfield talks about here is how, the more important something is to your soul's journey, to your life's calling, the harder it's going to be for you to do. That creating things, whether it's your goals or it's art, creating things requires that we be willing to battle the resistance. And we all have various forms of resistance that we have to face. Insecurity, imposter syndrome, fear, laziness, whatever it may be. And Steven Pressfield teaches you how to deal with that. Here's one book that, this is kind of interesting because Tony Robbins is like the stereotypical motivational speaker. When people hear the word motivational speaker, they think Tony Robbins. But he's a name that everybody knows, but not a lot of people have actually read Tony Robbins. And I think he's worth actually reading because he's got a lot of good stuff to say. And this book right here, Awaken the Giant Within, is a really powerful book on developing the mindset and the lifestyle that's necessary to not just be a productive person, but that's necessary to be a healthy person. And one of the things that distinguishes his approach is Tony starts with the body, whereas a lot of self-improvement authors start with the mind. They start with like, hey, change your thoughts, change your life kind of thing. And one of the things he talks about is like various things that you can do in terms of just like changing your physiology, changing your habits, and using that as a way to facilitate changes in your thinking. So I'm trying to think of any other books. Oh yeah. So Tim Ferriss has a podcast, the Tim Ferriss podcast. So good. He's famous for writing a book called The 4-Hour Workweek. That's not the book that I'm recommending right now, but he's got a really excellent podcast. And again, you can go listen to that for free. He's got 2 books, Tribe of Mentors, Tools of Titans. And what's really cool about these books, I particularly love the format of these because I'm going to show you the table of contents here. All right, so part 1 is healthy, right? Where it's all about health. Then part 2 is wealthy. It's all about wealth. Part 3, it's wise, all about wisdom. And each section is categorical, right? But each chapter has a different person. So Kelly Starrett, Amelia Boone, Dr. Peter Attia, Jocko Willink. And what's cool about this book is that he interviews health professionals, professional athletes, business executives, religious leaders, pop stars. Every demographic is represented in terms of people from different careers. And so you get a lot of insight and wisdom from so many different vantage points, so many different types of professionals, people that make their living as skateboarders, people that make their living as painters, people that make their living as corporate executives. And it's kind of cool to hear so many different perspectives weigh in on the creative process. I think that should be plenty of book recommendations for now. All right, let's get to some more questions. How do I find motivation? I feel like I'm in a constant state of apathy, like nothing matters. And so I just ignore a lot of problems and things I need to do, but can't find a reason to do them. Okay. Okay. All right. So here's the first thing. The first thing is, one second. I feel like I've lost my screen. Okay. Here we go. It's important to look at emotions in a way that's analogous to like the seasons. You have the winter where it's really cold. You got to bundle up before you go outside. Don't really enjoy it as much as summer. Got the spring where it's like filled with hope and the flowers are starting to bloom. It's nicer. It's the kind of weather you can go for a walk or a bike ride. The summer, you know, it's more free and playful, sometimes a little too hot. But the seasons change no matter what you do. And it's never always winter. It's never always summer. It's always in motion. And feelings are like that in some ways. And the reason I say this is because there's a lot of pressure that we put on each other and we put on ourselves to be happy all the time, to always feel chipper. And the problem when you do that is it can be easy to start looking at your so-called negative emotions as if it's a sin to feel them. You know, so you feel sad one day and something must be wrong with you. Or you wake up one day and you just don't feel like, yeah, I'm ready to get it. I'm ready to attack life and achieve all my dreams. Oh, there must be something wrong with me. And when you resent your feelings, you resist the wisdom that they provide. And one of the most valuable perspectives that we can adopt in life is the perspective of approaching every feeling as a kind of teacher. Now, I didn't say we approach our feelings as if they are gods. We don't worship our emotions. We don't treat our emotions as if they should have the final word on what we do, because what you do can fall in the category of good and bad. But what you feel, your feelings just are. You just feel what you feel. How you react to it can be healthy or unhealthy. What you do in response to a feeling can be constructive or destructive. But the feeling itself, it's a feeling. And it's very important to practice being present with an emotion and allowing that emotion to teach you. If you're angry, instead of pushing it away and condemning it and saying, oh, I'm such a bad person for being angry, what are you angry about? You might actually have a great opportunity for self-discovery here. It's important to understand what you're angry about, because while it doesn't feel very nice to be angry, understanding what triggers you can actually provide a lot of insight about your purpose. It's like that movie, Pixar just made a film about this maybe like 3 years ago, where all the different feelings, they're kind of like your friends. I think it's important to see it like that. All of your different feelings, they're your friends. Now, just like with friends, I think this is a great analogy, because you got some friends that all they do is make you feel good. When they come around, they're always cracking jokes. They always kind of like express belief in you. Like, you know, that's the person you want around when you want to have a good time. You've got some friends, they're really not very fun, but they're loyal to you, but they're kind of boring, right? They're always like talking about nerdy stuff, boring stuff, but they challenge you. They challenge you to think a little deeper, but they're not the friend that you want to take to the party, right? You got some friends where you know they're your friend, but they're also the kind of friend that will call you out if you're not doing what you said you would do. And that never feels good, but you need those kind of friends. Like, you're headed in the wrong direction if none of your friends are willing to tell you that you're wrong, or willing to tell you that you need to think twice about your behavior, or willing to call you out on hypocrisy. You need friends that challenge you. It's the same way with feelings. Some feelings are great. They make you say, yay, I love my life. And then some feelings say, man, I hate my life. I'm so mad right now, or whatever it may be. But those feelings are friends. And you can't get the value out of your friendship unless you are present, non-condemning, and you allow them to teach you. Why am I feeling this way? I also encourage practicing journaling, because journaling is a way of externalizing emotion. And emotion is this very ambiguous, intangible thing, and you need some way of concretizing it. You need artifacts. Artifacts are a very good way of helping us deal with emotions. So when you can put it into words that you can look at and see, even if your words are terrible, even if your words are precise, even if you look at your writing and go, oh, that's terrible, I hope no one sees it. The practice alone of externalizing your feelings by writing it out. Like, today I was so angry that this person said this to me. Today I just feel sad and I don't even understand why. And nothing even makes any kind of sense whatsoever. I feel like I'm losing my mind. There's such cathartic value in journaling and writing things down. But you need a way of taking those feelings out of the ambiguous nature of your soul and externalizing them into something that you can be able to look at, because it's much easier to learn from it. But I would encourage you all I would think about happiness in this way. I would say life is about wholeness, not necessarily happiness. And I would prioritize emotional versatility over happiness. Emotional versatility is about learning to be present in every state, every emotional state, and learning how to develop healthy responses to those states. Because no matter what, for the rest of your life, you're going to have some days where you wake up and you feel like, yeah, life is on my side. And you're going to have some days where you're like, why am I even doing this? And knowing how to love yourself from a state of non-judgmental compassion during those moments, knowing how to have some practices like journaling, knowing how to be present through meditation so that you can receive the wisdom that those feelings provide, it helps tremendously. Also, I don't want to take anything for granted here. You need people you can talk to. Community is a part of life. One of the easiest black holes to get sucked into on those dark days is the illusion that you're the only one. The illusion that whatever you're feeling today is some kind of out there, outrageous thing that no human being has ever felt, and something must be wrong with you. Only community can help rescue out of that. You need people that you can talk to. So my earlier advice about talking to people as well, that's another critical component. Hopefully that helps. Let's see here. My gosh, it just flies by. How do we deal with people besides our parents who are always telling us what to do and seem to control our lives? That's an interesting one. I'm not sure I understand, particularly because you said besides our parents. So I'm wondering here if this is someone that really does have control, or if this is someone that you're giving control. Because if there's someone in your life, they're not your parents, and they seem to have control over your life, I'm wondering where the authority comes from. I'm wondering what your parents would say. If you were like, Mom, Dad, this person over here is controlling my life, would your parents be like, well, that's because we authorized them to do so? Or would your parents say, well, you need to be honest with them and stand up for yourself? This is one of those questions where it could help me to have some context. So maybe maybe I can come back to it, and if you can give me a little context on what will be an example of a way in which someone is controlling your life. How to serve others without turning into a people pleaser. How to serve others without turning into a people pleaser. So allow yourself to be guided by internal convictions about what is right, rather than by the constantly fluctuating, unpredictable temperature of what people want from you. Serving other people isn't about getting people to smile and say thank you. And you'll often find that when you serve other people, people will be quite disappointing to you in terms of how often they give that up. So if you really want to serve people, mentally prepare for that ahead of time. You will probably not be appreciated as much as you want to be appreciated. So don't do it for that. But think about your why again. Remember, one of the things we talked about earlier in one of the previous sessions is that in life, there are an infinite number of problems to solve. And when your life is over, you'll leave more problems unsolved than you leave solved. And so there are always problems to solve. And if you focus on one set of problems, you're leaving thousands of other problems unsolved. So how do you pick the set of problems that you're most passionate about? And you want to serve people by using the stuff that you're passionate about or interested in to solve problems that matter to them. So if you're leading with things that are meaningful to you, things that you're passionate about, then you tend to be internally motivated. So why am I here serving you in the form of answering your questions? Notice I'm not the mechanic fixing your car. You're not going to get TK Coleman to do that. What you'll get from me is a recommendation about a good mechanic who can fix your car. Because I love giving recommendations. I love pointing people to resources. But I'm not solving any of your car problems, period, right? That's not what I'm into. But I can't help you with your car problems by starting with my passion, referring people to great resources that can help them solve their problems. I can help you in that way. So what are you passionate about? What do you enjoy doing? What do you like? What makes things meaningful to you? And then serve people through that, and you'll always be internally motivated. What was the freedom book? How I Found Freedom and What? How I Found Freedom in an Unfree World by Harry Brown. How I Found Freedom in an Unfree World. Please explain the difference between being content and being unambitious. Right now, I feel like the difference is that one is knowing when to stop, and the other is just being lazy. Okay, so being content is about recognizing that at every stage of life, I am enough. At every stage of life, I have something to be grateful for. And that I do not strive to be better because I am this terrible person who is unworthy of existence, but I strive to be better out of respect for my potential. So there's a quote by the Christian author Max Lucado where he said, God loves you so much that he is willing to accept you as you are, but he loves you way too much to leave you that way. He wants you to be better. So being ambitious it's not about pursuing success because you need to feel like you are earning the right to live, or you are becoming worthy of life, or because you're trying to impress others. You are striving for success because you understand that you already have value. You have a tremendous amount of potential, and out of respect for that, you're going to bring that value forth. But you learn how to enjoy life and be grateful for life and be grateful for where you already are, no matter how much growth you have to do. You're always grateful for where you are, but you're always allowing yourself to learn new things so that you can continue to grow. That's the balance between contentment and ambition. All right, let's see. I made a mistake once, and then it got blown out of proportion. It definitely ruined how people think of me. Some have publicly said bad things about me, then would text me for help on work. How would you respond or do? So know that this is a part of life, that if you think you have a chance at being liked by everyone, it's only because you haven't experienced enough of the world. It's only because you don't have a clue as to just how many different reasons there are for why people can hate you and misunderstand you. They'll hate you for your political beliefs or your lack of political beliefs. They'll hate you for your religious beliefs or your lack of religious beliefs. People will hate you for the way you look. People will hate you for the kind of family you come from, how much money you are going to have. You're going to be hated. You're going to be disliked. You're going to be misunderstood. You're going to be disagreed with. That's part of life. It's important to put these things in perspective, though. Somehow, millions of human beings before you have found a way to live lives of purpose and meaning in spite of the fact that there are people who hated them. It can be very useful to familiarize yourself with other people's stories here. I would encourage you all to go ask your parents, like, hey, mom, dad, guarantee you they're going to give you a yes to this. Hey, mom, dad, have you ever had anybody in your life that misunderstood you? What did you do about it? How did you handle that? That can actually be a good conversation for you and your parents. A very healing conversation for you. You can gather some wisdom about how to deal with this. But those types of things happen. But the goal of life is to find your tribe. Find the people who love you for you, who respect you for who you are, and who support you, and are trying to be allies with you. If someone is acting in bad faith and they're not respecting your dignity, they're not being charitable in their interpretations of you, then you have to take your attention off them. One of my favorite quotes by Mike Murdock is, go where you're celebrated, not where you're tolerated. So focus on other people and surround yourself with people that are good friends. And sometimes the best friends aren't necessarily the people that we think we would be cool if they liked us. Sometimes the best friends are the people that are right there showing you all along that they got your back and they're willing to be good to you and they're willing to support you if you appreciate what's in front of you. But don't waste your time debating those people or arguing with those people. It rarely changes things. Just try to live your best life. If you've done something wrong, apologize, own it. Don't make excuses. You said you made a mistake, own it and apologize. If there's something you can do to make it right, make it right. But you can't make people forget about it. You just got to move on. Even if other people don't forgive you, you got to recognize that God forgives you and that you got to forgive yourself. My passion of what I want to do with my life isn't the easiest career path, and I often feel discouraged trying to pursue it. What do you think I could do to stay encouraged? All right, realize that change is easier said than done, but it's better done than said. Realize that all the good things in life are going to be challenging. Remember what we talked about before? The root of the word passion is a Latin word which means to suffer. So if it's a passion, you're willing to do challenging things for it. But what we talked about the other week, a champion is someone who's willing to do what they hate in order to create what they love. What can you do to stay encouraged? I gave you advice last week about biographies, about studying the lives of other people. I recommend that book by Marla Thomas, The Right Words at the Right Time. For you, I recommend that above all these others because it exposes you to very short, easily digestible stories of successful people who accomplished very hard things, but they went through a tremendous amount of difficulty along the way. And you can acquire coping mechanisms for how you can deal with the hardships along the way. And by understanding the stories of other people who also suffer for their dream, you can be able to contextualize your life. But appreciate the hard stuff. Because if your dream was easy, then everybody would do it, and the whole world would be your competition. The hard stuff is what's going to keep the people who aren't serious out. It's what's going to make sure that only those who are persistent are the ones who actually make it. And by the way, if you really got a dream, you really got something that you want to do with your life, at the very least, I think you can find 5 minutes every day for the rest of your life to get up and to watch something or read something that's specifically about following your dreams. There's so many motivational videos on YouTube right now. It just doesn't make any sense. I didn't have that growing up, but you gotta, your input determines your output, right? You gotta feed your mind nourishing information. We spend so much time on social media and we allow that stuff to dictate our energy. I mean, Twitter tells us what's trending, Instagram tells us what's trending, and then we just go that way. We just go with where social media tells us to focus on. You need at least 5 minutes every day where you're telling yourself what to focus on, and you're the one that's picking the information that you're taking in. Before you listen to what your friends are saying, before you go to social media, before you pick up your phone, like, you need to be feeding your mind stuff that's going to give you the fuel you need to get through the hard times in life. I hate that we are at the end of time, but this is so fun. Jada, you're right on the money. The best things in life are worth fighting for. Can you please repeat the name of the book related to reaching your dreams? I think for the person that was talking, that I mentioned the biographies, it was Marlo Thomas, The Right Words at the Right Time. You have one other form that will take 1 to 2 minutes to fill out. Please do me the favor of filling that out. Remember, you can hit me up on Instagram or Twitter if you have any other questions. I'm happy to support in whatever way I can. My Twitter handle is @TK_Coleman. My Instagram is @officialTKColeman. And everybody, if this, just in case, this is my last time being able to talk with you, I just want to let you know. I just want to let you know that you have more creative power to make a difference in your life than you can possibly imagine. And no, your dreams won't be easy. No, life won't be easy. No, I do not believe at all when you wish upon a star, it makes no difference who you are. Dreams are tough. Dreams are hard. Cheers. Happy Thanksgiving. Stay in touch.